Hello and welcome to Spirit Sundays. I'm Shayla Herndon Edmonds. I'm the founder and chief creative officer of Oh My Goodness Wellness Bar, and I'm so happy that you're here. This is the first and what we hope will become a regular practice of me, Coach Shayla, coming on live or posting and sharing content about spirit care. So here at Oh My Goodness, we focus on helping our clients to support their mind, body, and spirit. We believe that well-being, when done intentionally, has to be attentive to all three. And so this month, if you've been following our feed, you know that we're focusing on gratitude, not just because it's the month of November and we're leading up to Thanksgiving for those who acknowledge that holiday, but also because we think that gratitude is just so important. There's so much happening in our world, many things that are not immediately within our control. They're sort of in our locus of concern or locus of influence, but we can't control the outcome. And what I found is that gratitude is such a powerful practice that not only helps us to raise our vibration, so sometimes we're feeling low and it's hard to put our next foot forward. And it's a way to ground ourselves and support ourselves in the reality of the things that we have to be grateful for versus focusing on positive, sort of like that fake or faux positivity that feels a little annoying or inauthentic. So thank you for being here, and I will share for a few minutes, and then if you want to hop on over to our YouTube channel, you can view the full session. But I wanted to start today by talking about what gratitude is. We use the word a lot, but we don't necessarily talk about or define it. And so I think that's important for us so that we all know that we're talking about the same thing. So I have in my hand today, my gratitude inspirational card deck and guidebook. And so from time to time, you'll notice that I'll pull a card from there and share a message or an insight that might help us to focus on gratitude. But the guidebook says gratitude at its most basic level is an inner sense of deep appreciation for any aspect of one's life. It can manifest spontaneously, meaning that maybe you're outside and like me, you see a cardinal and instantly there's a sense of joy and gratitude and appreciation for life. It can also happen intentionally through mindful practice, sitting down with your journal and writing a list of things that you're grateful for, or having a accountability partner that you're texting once a week to talk about or to share 3 things that you're grateful for. It can be both spontaneous, but it can also be intentional. And I invite you to find both, set the intention of both being open to that spontaneous gratitude, random gratitude experiences, and intentional ones where you're carving out the time to reflect and connect, which helps us oftentimes to come back into our body because we're on autopilot oftentimes, going here, there, everywhere. And sometimes when we're doing that, we're not really attuned to ourselves, which may mean that not only are we not operating from a place of gratitude, but we may not be paying attention to our body. Because gratitude feels a certain way in your body, and so does stress. And sometimes we're so stressed that we try to tune it out because we don't have time, or we feel like we don't have the resources, or we're not ready to deal with the stress, or we're just so used to it being a part of our experience that we dismiss it. We forget that there's maybe something that we can do to lessen it, or to, at minimum, not amplify it. So let's see what else it has to say about gratitude. It says, while spontaneous gratitude efforts afford us the surprise moments of pleasure and peace, the practice of gratitude can elevate and sustain these experiences, leading to greater satisfaction with one's life. So a life without gratitude is a life unfulfilled. It's a life where we're always looking for the next thing, where we're always focusing on what we don't have, what we didn't do well, what's not right, what's wrong, both within ourselves and within others. And that's I don't even have a word for it, but that's sad. I think that's the most simple phrase I can use to describe that when we're always focusing on lack, for lack of a better phrase, then there's not a lot of room for gratitude. So the reality is that I can be experiencing circumstances that are hard, that are unfair, that are, bringing up feelings that are negative, that are traumatic even. And that even as I'm experiencing those real things, there are ways in which I can experience gratitude as well. In my household this month, I've constantly come back to this difference for us between our first world challenges and the reality that some of the challenges that we're navigating are blessings. It's a blessing that we even get to navigate it. Full disclosure, we had our heat go out, and it was frustrating working with contractors and, having to put my foot down and being annoyed. But the reality was that even though that was difficult in some ways and frustrating, and I had the right to be frustrated with the quality of service, etc., the fact that our challenge was our heat working, when the reality is that that's a challenge there are folks who are praying for, particularly some folks who are unhoused or seeking housing or seeking homes. It put in perspective to me that in this moment I get to be frustrated about this, but not everyone does. And so gratitude allows us to, without slipping into toxic positivity, allow our reality, the nuance of our reality, to be held at the same time. That this can be hard and I can be grateful. That this can be challenging, but I can smile and feel appreciation for that cute little toddler that just walked by me in the mall, or for something I saw or felt when I walked outside. And I think that allows us to experience the richness of life in a more profound way. So now that we have a definition of gratitude, and we know that we're not talking about toxic positivity where everything is always awesome, but we're not acknowledging the harm, the trauma, the challenges, but simply that we're able to acknowledge those things, but not allow them to rob us of our ability to also see and experience joy and peace and beauty all at the same time. So now that we've defined it, I would love for you to go in the chat and tell me a little bit about what you're grateful for in this moment. What's coming up for you? What are your questions or thoughts about gratitude? And do you have a gratitude practice? I'm curious to know. So I'm looking forward to coming back and seeing what your questions are in the chat and what gratitude practices you already have and what's coming up for you. I'll share a couple of my gratitude practices. You're more than welcome to try them. But my first practice, so you'll see that I've got my tea. This is my chai tea. On the OMG page earlier this week, there was a post for gratitude tea, and it is the recipe for making your own chai tea. Now, one of my gratitude practices is tea making. I'm an herbalist, so I love, I don't mind a tea bag that's already mixed for me, but my go-to is to make my own tea. So I love choosing the ingredients, being really thoughtful about how much of each one my palate prefers, and really learning about what each ingredient can do. So when I'm making whether it's chai tea or something else, I'm grateful for and acknowledging what are the talents and what are the benefits each ingredient brings. So that, cinnamon that's in our chai tea is I'm grateful because I know it's anti-inflammatory and that it's going to support my digestion. And, so that's one of the gratitude practices that I bring into my tea, into my morning through my teas. And then just in general, gratitude can simply be the acknowledgement of what a thing or a person has the ability to do, so giving it its props, if you will. And then I'm a Taurus, so I'm big on flavors and richness and food. And so just in taking the time to sit and enjoy my tea or my coffee and experiencing the flavors. It sounds corny, but how often do we rush through a cup of something or a plate of something and we finished it and we're satiated or satisfied because our belly is full, but I couldn't tell you what it really tasted like. And so a gratitude practice is actually honoring what's before you by taking the time to take it all in, tasting the flavors in that way. So that's one of my gratitude and mindfulness practices. Years ago, my best friend and I, who were both on this journey of being more present, because gratitude helps us to stay in the moment. If I'm in the moment focusing on what I'm grateful for, I can't project myself into next week, or I'm not projecting myself into this evening. I'm right here. I'm not projecting into the past, beating myself up for what I didn't get done yesterday or for past failures and mistakes or oversights. Gratitude is in the present. And so we had this practice that every day we would text each other before we closed out the day 3 things that we were grateful for. And so there was accountability there, because if I didn't do it, she was giving me the side eye. And if she didn't do it, I was giving her the side eye. But it helped it for me, I can't speak for her, to become a habit. I also love to just grab a journal and write down a bunch of things that I'm grateful for. And they can be as silly as, I'm grateful for the squirrels I saw playing in my yard yesterday. Or, I love to garden. If you follow me at Coach Shayla, you'll see a lot of my content is around gardening, because it's a happy place for me. But sometimes my gratitude comes from having this place that I get to watch things grow and eat good things that I grew myself. So those are some of the things. I got to get used to these earbuds, y'all. I'm earbud averse, but I'm trying. But those are some things that I do as gratitude practices. And then my husband Curtis and I, during the course of the day, we'll ask each other, what are you grateful for? And I ask those questions of my kids too. And now our son Miles, who's 8, will sometimes say, hey mom, what are you grateful for? So those are some practices that have been really useful for me. So I'm going to close out our conversation today, our spirit care conversation for Spirit Sunday, by pulling a card from the Gratitude Inspirational card deck. And we'll see what insight or recommendation or inspiration we get from this tool. It's funny, I got that card earlier this week, so I'm going to pull another one. I'll go with the next one. So this card is an affirmation. It begins with a quote. You didn't come into this world. You came out of it like a wave from the ocean. You're not a stranger here. Alan Watts. I'm going to read that again. You didn't come into this world. You came out of it like a wave from the ocean. You are not a stranger here. Something in that is a reminder that we hold more wisdom and insight than we recognize. And sometimes we can feel like life is happening to us. We can get sidetracked or caught off guard by, lifing. But this quote reminds me that I'm not a stranger here, that I hold wisdom. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it's my own. Those of you who grew up being called an old soul understand what I mean. But you're not a stranger here. And that says to me personally, you've got this. It may mean something else to you, but that's what it brings up for me. The affirmation says, affirm your animal nature today. Go outside and allow your body to respond to the earth and the sky. And that idea of affirming your animal nature, for some of you might be like, oh, she way out there, or this is interesting. But what it says to me is, to affirm and honor your innate qualities and abilities, those things that are a part of you that no one had to teach you, that no one has had to impart on you. You didn't have to go study and get a degree. It's just so innate and natural to who you are. And that's, similar to when we think about animal instincts. Like no one had to teach a bird to fly or to teach it to do that, that it's a part of their makeup. Animals that are predators or that need to forage, they know to do that. It is instinctual to them. So what's instinctual to you, and how can you affirm that? And I really think about that, like what comes to you naturally. It's like it's instinctual. No one ever had to teach you to do that. For me, it is sensing and being intuitive and being able to listen beneath the words. People will tell me their life story after I've just asked them one question. And that's not something that I was taught, but it is something that I now affirm as a part of who I am. And it shows up in every aspect of my work, whether I'm consulting or coaching, working with someone who's experiencing some form of dis-ease. So affirm your nature. Check your fingerprints. What are those unique parts of yourself? And get outside today. Get outside during the course of this week. Take your shoes off if you're able to do so. Grab a blanket and sit down and just allow your body to respond to the earth and sky. And that just means allow yourself to settle. I could go into a whole thing about the Earth's electromagnetic field and how that interacts with ours, but I don't need to say all that. When you go outside and you allow yourself to just be present there, to look up, look down, and feel your surroundings, I would be surprised if you don't feel a shift or feel something balanced or sort of like calm within yourself. And if it doesn't happen the first time, keep doing it. I hope that you have an incredible week that is filled with moments of spontaneous gratitude, and also that you'll commit to doing one intentional act of gratitude this week. And then if you feel inclined to let me know how it goes or how it went, I'd love that. Thank you for tuning in. Have an amazing day. I'm grateful for you. Love and blessings.